To welcome you all. So I'm so glad that so many of you were able to come today. So we have pretty much all lower school, all middle school, and some of the high school students who were able to make it to this special performance. Studying American bluegrass music, which is the style of music that this band is going to play. And we've been studying it in little bits and pieces across the year and trying to figure out how this music comes out of, where this music came from. Because music just doesn't come out of nowhere. People create it, and they create it for a certain reason and out of a certain part of the country. And what was exciting for us is this is a kind of music that not a lot of our students listen to very often. And so it's sort of opening up their minds to a whole different part of the world and a different type of music. And I think it's very beautiful, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So what this is today is this is a concert with one of the best bluegrass bands in the world. We're so honored to have them here. And so I know you're going to be an awfully attentive audience, and this is as good as it gets, people. So I want to turn this over to Special Consensus and let them play their music for you.
Special Consensus, and really happy to be here. We just had a really fun meeting a little earlier with some of you, and we're going to get to talk all about this music that we love to play and sing, and hopefully that you'll love to listen to and maybe play and sing someday as well. Okay, and we want to thank the Hudson Valley Bluegrass Association for helping us come. Thanks a whole lot. Well, we're going to get to have a really fine visit with you here today, both right now for a little bit. We're going to tell you a little bit about our music, play a few songs, and get to have a chat with you all. We're going to tell you a little about the music and go all the way back to when people first came to this country. And they brought with them instruments similar to the instruments you see up here. And I know many of you have already learned about the instrument that Ashby over there is holding, right? You all know that that's a... No, Ashby on the end, on the far end. There you go. Ashby playing the mandolin, right? David over here is playing the big upright bass, right? And Ryan is playing the instrument I bet even some of you all play, right? The guitar. And my name's Greg, and I'm playing the coolest instrument in a bluegrass band, the banjo, okay? All these instruments have a generic name. They're all known as acoustic instruments because we can play them without plugging in if we so choose. We can just take them out of the cases and play them just as they are. As more people started doing this, some of these families started traveling around and made their living doing it. And that's what we do. We play all over this country and other countries as well. And we'll fast forward all the way up into the 1930s. A guy named Bill Monroe, and I know you've heard about Bill Monroe a little bit here in some of your previous classes, but Bill Monroe was from Kentucky, and he played with his brother and his uncle, and he played the mandolin. And by the late 1930s, he decided to form a band of his own, and it had a similar combination of instruments. They actually had an accordion before they had a banjo, and they had a few other instruments. They always had a fiddle in the band because his uncle, Bill Monroe's uncle, played the fiddle, and he loved fiddle music. So that kind of became the format of the band, and the guys in the band all sang in harmony, and they sometimes had women in the band, and it was a real different sound for the times, and it was considered country music. with all these acoustic instruments. And by the 1950s, when they started playing electric instruments and using drums, you notice we don't have drums, they wanted to distinguish between the kind of country music that used electric instruments and the kind of country music that didn't, which was this kind of music. Bill Monroe was from Kentucky, so Bill Monroe called his band Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys, and so therefore in the 1950s, when they made this distinction between the bands that used electric guitars and drums and the bands that played these acoustic instruments, they started calling this bluegrass music. So that's how it got its name. Bill Monroe is known as the father of bluegrass music. So we called this tune the Snowball Breakdown. All right, thanks.
Why do you all believe that bluegrass is special?
It's different from everything because it's one of the few like purely American forms of music that was developed here since the turn of the century. It's really not that old compared to people think of it as like old time music or something that old people might play or something like that. But it was only developed it got its big fan base and other bands, and there were a bunch of bands only in the 50s. It's about the same age as rock.
And I like it because they're all acoustic instruments. I really like the sound that these instruments make together, and then when they sing, you know, it's all just coming from the people and making this wonderful sound, and you don't have to plug anything in. Not that plugging stuff in is bad, but it's just a whole other sound, you know, the timbre of the instruments together and everything. It's really different. Yeah.
I noticed that the bass was moving around a little bit, and behind the other instruments, does it like change the sound or?
Well, it can. If you're playing in a situation where it's hard to hear each other play, depending on the building or what, you can move back and forth and play behind someone, and even if they can't hear your notes, they can hear you slap your fingers on the fingerboard, so they can hear. It's kind of in the same place as the mandolin shop.
How did you get introduced to bluegrass?
I could probably answer that, especially coming from a non-bluegrass community. I think a lot of these guys might have heard bluegrass growing up, and for myself, I didn't even hear of bluegrass till I was 20 years old, really. I've heard of bluegrass, but I've never really got to see a band or get to pick with anybody, and I was into a lot of acoustic music, and there was a festival that was just out at an indoor festival at a hotel, and a friend of mine who loved bluegrass knew that I liked acoustic music and just invited me to come along. So at 20 years old, I heard my first bluegrass band and decided that's the kind of music I really wanted to play, so it took that kind of hold on me, and I guess you're kind of lucky to get exposed to it quite young, so you don't have to start too late if you're interested.
Well, they're not so common to see all over the place, but you hear them more than you know. They're in all different kinds of music. They're in the mandolin originally came over as something that was developed in Italy. I'm the drum and I'm the lead sometimes, so you'll hear me playing my leads instead of going. I'll start going. Kind of flat picking like a guitar would.
It's the largest instrument in the violin family. The acoustic bass came from the same place that the mandolin did, and it looks just like a giant fiddle. The bass plays the lowest note in the band, and teamed together with the mandolin, it makes that drum kit that Ashby was telling you about that is used in most bluegrass bands to take the place of a drummer, because most bluegrass bands don't have drummers. So if I play the on beat in a song and he plays the off beat, boom chuck, it kind of sounds like a drum kit. So it kind of makes the noise that a drum would make.
Basically, I'm going to do a bass note on my guitar, and then a chop. So, and then I do that again. So I'm kind of doing what both of those guys did, only I do that at the same time. We also get to pick out little melodies from the song, so.
The instrument itself originally came from Africa. It had 3 or 4 strings. It was known as a banjar. And when I play, I go across the strings. I call it roll. So my job when these guys are doing their chopping and strumming and hitting the bass notes, I kind of do that. When the mandolin plays a solo and we don't have that chop anymore, sometimes I do that instead of the mandolin and take his place. So we're going to put all the pieces together so you can see how we do the rhythm section. We'll start, with the bass on the on-beat, the mandolin on the offbeat, the guitar pulling it together, and me doing the rolls, and then we'll play a tune for you, okay? So then if you're clapping, you can clap quietly if you want to. But usually we clap with the onbeat, right? Then when we add the offbeat. Okay, so how about everybody in the middle clap on the onbeat, and on the sides clap on the offbeat with the mandolin. There's the drum kit, see? And the guitar pulls it all together. The banjo rolls with it. Well, the question is, how long have we been doing bluegrass? The band actually started way back in 1975, which is almost 35 years ago now. And one of us up here was alive then. Who do you think that might be? Good. Yes. Well, a huge part of bluegrass music is singing. To sing in harmony, we're just basically singing different notes in the chord. And Ashby's going to sing the lead, the melody, and David's going to, on the tenor. David's above the tenor, with the tenor. And I'm the baritone. Ryan's the bass.
I can't do that. Come on, I'll get it in the song. Just as low as you can go. Everybody do their low voice with me. Lord, show me the righteous pathway to your glorious throne on high. Lead me down the straight and narrow to the land where I'll never die. Lord, if I reach out my hand, show me the promised land. Lord, lead me down the righteous pathway to your glorious home on high.
Well, all right, thank you. Singing is really fun. We're all born with our own instrument, our voice, and we sure encourage you all to sing any place, anytime, maybe except for when you're in class.